Probably Hamas is trying to get improvement in the conditions. I believe part of their concern is how the negotiations is set up. They're worried that the negotiation will only be for the temporary 6-week ceasefire. And of course, they made it clear that they want a permanent ceasefire. So without Hamas, it's very hard to see how anybody can come to an agreement on the hostages. So Russia's relationship with Iran is very good, of course. Mahmoud Abbas, as the head of the PA, is trying to get Russia to involve Iran or put pressure on Iran to not retaliate against Israel. And in return, Israel would agree to a ceasefire deal. So he's trying this, because the Palestinian Authority is becoming more and more irrelevant. So he's hoping he'll get something from Russia that would make the PA in Ramallah more relevant. There has to be some military response, maybe an assassination or some attack that is in another country, because they need to do something different than the usual. No, I don't think they're going to do the same missile and drone attacks like last time. But they might be persuaded by Russia to just not do the attack in return for a ceasefire in Gaza. Yes, Israel is putting pressure through these assassinations. Iran loses every time a military or a political official gets killed. Definitely Hezbollah is losing key military leaders, and the longer this happens, the weaker Hezbollah and Iran in general are in the area. So they want a ceasefire and a deal sooner rather than later. It helps the USA in the sense that it gets Iran to be more willing to compromise. And if Iran compromises, then it's more likely that you'll have a ceasefire. And that's something that the US wants. Yes, so Israel, of course, after October 7th, had a very big blow to its deterrence. And by definition, necessarily, that makes Iran stronger in the region. The moment Israel is weaker, that translates into Iran being stronger. So if the war ended now, in theory at least, or relatively speaking, Iran would be the winner because Israel is the one that is more vulnerable than it used to be, while Iran has the same vulnerability that it used to have. And this is how you understand why Israel is going for assassinations and not necessarily attacks, because they want to make sure that Iran is not stronger or relatively stronger than it was on October 6th. The last attacks, yeah, the last assassinations were in public. They seemed like they were only done by Israel without the help of the US. And that helps the Israeli citizen, which is the object of the Israeli government's actions. Now the Israeli citizens feel that their army is capable, it's able to strike inside Tehran without Tehran being able to respond. So there is a sense of return some deterrence and some sense of safety with this army that failed in October 7th. So it has always been a demand of the Palestinians to involve more parties than the United States in the peace process, because the United States has done a very bad job in stewarding the peace process. So the request for Russian role in the peace process has been very old. And now with the Gaza situation, it is more important because, in fact, Russia has good relations with Iran and with Syria. So if Russia is involved more directly in the peace process, it's more likely that we can get a solution because we have more resources, political resources, to expend in the negotiations. The attacks from Israel or Hezbollah start to become dangerous for Israel, or if Israel cannot handle them, the US is going to be just as involved to protect Israel, but it won't take any offensive maneuvers or tactics unless it is necessary to defend Israel. Yeah, so this is the challenge. This is the challenge for them, is they want to be able to defend themselves by themselves. Whether they are capable or not is a question, right? So the US wants Israel to try to defend itself. And if it fails, then the US is going to intervene. But it would rather not intervene because the US is trying to not get sucked into the Middle East after it removed itself from it. Now, this is a liability and a burden on the U.S. Because, of course, Israel is a very important ally of the U.S. It reflects on U.S. Hegemony and power in the region. So if Israel loses, this is the U.S. losing. If Israel's deterrent power is diminished, that's the U.S. deterrent power being diminished. So it's kind of their fates are connected to each other when it comes to the Middle East. And that's why the U.S. is trying very hard to keep supporting Israel so that it has some sort of success until Russia and the U.S. intervene. So I do not think that there are going to be too many salvos or back and forth. At some point, the U.S. and the international community is going to put pressure for one of the two parties not to respond. It on how strong an attack it is. It really depends on the extent of the damage it does.